Hi, it's Michael, and welcome back to another SkyPortal how-to. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the user profile and notifications. So the idea here is that as a user, you are able to get notifications both within the app and externally about interesting things that are happening in the app. This can be useful, for example, during things like gravitational wave runs when you are getting notices about binary neutron star mergers at all times of night, such that you can, get notifications to your phone and such things. Let's begin. So we start per usual on the home screen here, and this time we click in the top right-hand corner and go down to the user profile. And so within this profile, so it's currently empty, but the concept is that you fill in your first and last name, the affiliations that you may have. This will be useful for example, when we can make automated summaries of follow-up observations, and we'll go over that in a future video. Consistent with what we're doing here, your contact email and contact phone, these are useful if you are going to get notifications outside the app. So looking at the notification panel in general, we provide a number of different, let's say, types of objects that you can get notifications about. So for example, sources, and if, for example, you're an AGN person, want to be notified about sources that are classified as AGN, or perhaps different types of eclipsing binaries or something like that. And you can click update here. And at that point, then notifications will be enabled for sources of those classifications. Now specifying this means that objects within the app, you will get notifications in your notification dropdown, which is in the bell next to your profile name. But you can also get notifications by other options. So for example, by email, as a message on Slack, and we'll talk about Slack integration in a second, by text message, as well as by phone call. And you can even, for text messages and phone calls in particular, given that they can be, let's say, intrusive on your life, you can specify time slots over which you're willing to get phone calls. We'll talk about shifts in a later video as well, but this is another way to track, basically when you're using the app and when you're paying attention to it. So as I mentioned, we have options for a number of different options for these notifications. For GCN events in particular, you can filter based on the type of event. So if maybe you're a GRB person and you only want to find out when GRBs are available, and maybe you're only interested in Fermi sources or something like that, and so you can specify this particular set. And each of these notification options has the same bell, and so again you can specify notifications for different types. So in this case, maybe you only want to get email notifications of GCN events. Facility transactions, so these correspond to anytime a follow-up request on a particular object is made. That's what we covered in one of the recent videos, as well as observation plans, another thing we've talked about before. Analysis services, we have not yet talked about this in this video series, but the concept here is that you can request analyses like light curve fitting or spectroscopy fitting of your favorite objects. And since many of these services interact external to the app, you can get notifications when, for example, a long Bayesian inference job is finished. You can get notifications about your favorite sources. So this corresponds to the little stars that sit next to sources. So the sources you're excited about, or at least currently, you can add a little star, and anytime a new spectra, new classification, new comment is made, you can You get notified of that. And finally, mentions. So basically, if someone else within the app, mentions you, in this case, at M. Coughlin or whatever, within the app, I will get notified of that. Right. And so we mentioned Slack integration. So the way Slack integration works is that you put in some kind of integration URL. And so if we go over to the SkyPortal docs, as we do sometimes, we have a page dedicated to Slack integration. And so there's a walkthrough here where it'll show you how to set up the Slack app that you have. You basically create an app within Slack and add it to the particular Slack channel that you are interested in getting notifications on. And at the end of this process, they give you this, what they call webhook URL, but basically a URL you can use to then copy into SkyPortal itself here. And then you will get notifications to that particular Slack channel. So the point is that there's kind of one Slack channel per user, and so all of your Slack notifications will end up going to the same channel. So to finish this off, we do have a few more preferences available. For example, we have a dark mode. We have the ability to invert thumbnails, i.e., white to black, black to white type of thing. We have the ability to turn on and off 24-hour time versus AM PM time. This is, kind of a particular importance to some users. And we have the ability to turn on and off compact comments. In the observability dropdown, we can, if you have favorite telescopes within the app, maybe you only use a couple of telescopes, you can specify the couple of telescopes to actually show when, for example, showing the potential observability for follow-up of a particular object. You can also add what we call classifications shortcut to the app. And so for example, this might be useful for someone who is looking at a periodic signal, and could just call it periodic here. And then when you go to the candidates page, you'll be able to just click this periodic, and as you go down the list, this is just to save a couple extra clicks. We'll do a future video on classifications, but the idea is you have to click a handful of times usually to make a classification, whereas here you can just click a button and then it's labeled as periodic. We also have some photometry plotting preferences. You can specify which passbands that you're particularly interested in seeing plotted. For example, maybe I'm interested in ZTF filters, or I have particular origins, i.e. I'm interested in photometry for particular pipelines. Those are the ones I want to set automatically visible when I go to the source page. We can also add specific photometry buttons to turn, basically, to simplify turning ZTF only or something, to turn them on and off. So I can add a button such that I will see that on the source page. So if we go to the source page, I'll go back to the main screen and then to a particular source page. I can click show ZTF only. I only have ZTF options at this point, so that's what it is. But yeah, and you can play with the data point size and so on. Yeah, so hopefully this introduced you to the user profile and how to specify important things like notifications, both internal and external to the app. If you have any comments, thoughts, questions, as always, please reach out. And otherwise, we look forward to seeing you in the next video.